And Matt, what I'm going to do is, rather than talk about someone who is a target, I want to bring you some breaking news, and it is about Benjamin Sesko. Benjamin Sesko, and we can tell you that meeting their Leipzig counterparts, and now we can tell you a fee has been agreed for Sesko to come to Manchester United.
Wow, that is big news, Dan. Thanks very much for letting us know. I'm just going to follow that up, mate, with this is big, isn't it? Because they've already got Cunha, they've already got Mbeumo, but this, surely, this is the one that's going to really excite the Manchester United fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we've been telling you all day as well, Matt, that once a fee was agreed, you know, Benjamin Sesko will have permission to then fly to the UK and stuff. What he brings to this United side is just a variety of goals. He's not just one type of striker who's a finisher in the box or a long-range striker. I mean, he showed last year, left foot, right foot, inside the box, outside the box, fantastic in the air as well. And one thing I would say that impresses me a lot is just his link-up play in terms of what he could potentially do with the likes of Ahmad, with the likes of Cunha and Mbeumo around him, with Fernandes as well. I think that is very exciting for Ruben Amorim. And although they are, it looks like, purchasing someone with still a lot of potential to go, this new look Manchester United attack, which is completely different to last season, all of a sudden looks much more potent, and now they have some depth there as well, still with the likes of Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee and Mason Mount there as well.
You're right, it does look a lot more potent, doesn't it, than last year? Would you say that now, on paper, with those three players in the front line, that Manchester United have one of the most potent-looking strike forces in the Premier League?
Going into the season for Ruben Amorim, there is going to be an expectation now to show that improvement in the league, because they've spent just under £200 million now on those three attackers alone. And when you consider the experience of Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo, especially in the Premier League, they have bought that Premier League experience in that sense, and now a striker to lead that line. So very, very interesting developments to Manchester United, and also what I would say is very impressive by their recruitment team as well. When you consider maybe in the last 6 years, we've seen some transfer sagas, haven't we, in terms of Harry Maguire, Anthony, that have gone throughout the window, that has led to Manchester United paying some huge inflated transfer fees. But you would say the likes of Christopher Vivell, Director of Recruitment, he's had this relationship with Sesko, scouting him at 16 years old at RB Salzburg, then taking him to RB Leipzig, and now it seems he's taking him to Manchester United. So United have known of Sesko for a long time, since he was 16 years old, in Salzburg, and it seems now at 22 years old, Sesko is now coming to Manchester United. And I have to be, reiterate as well, despite Newcastle doing all of their effort to get Sesko over the line, Sesko's preference has always been Old Trafford and Manchester United. And again, I think that will be something Manchester United and Ruben Amorim will be very pleased about.
OK, Dan, I understand this broke while we were talking live to you. I'll tell you what, we'll just give you a few minutes, check your phone, do a bit more digging, but stay there. We'll come back here in a few minutes' time.
Especially in the global sense, players will look at that. Players will look to go and sign for a team that is known globally and has that history, that has that tradition of winning big trophies. So it would have been trickier this year because, yes, Manchester United finished 15th. No Champions League. Newcastle in the Champions League, flying. There's two Champions League runs now they're going to have. So I think somebody like Sesko is thinking, maybe I'm looking at Manchester United and maybe I could be one of the heroes there. You know, who am I competing with? If I'm coming in, am I playing? Maybe it's the case that he's playing. I think it's also the opportunity to be a new hero for this new project, this new Manchester United, because going from zero to all of a sudden, maybe in 1 year's time, they're looking at Champions League, that's also inviting.
Indeed, under Eric Ten Hag, he was the #1 transfer target for Manchester United as far as the strikers go, and for various reasons that didn't come off. Manchester United have had a real shortage of goals. Rasmus Højlund has tried his best, and there's a lot of mitigation there because it's not been the most creative Manchester United side. But the team's clearly lacking a #9 who is prolific. I know Sesko isn't Ruud van Nistelrooy in terms of his figures, but he's young, he's very exciting, and Manchester United have long considered, and long before Ineos came in as decision makers, as him as being somebody who could absolutely improve the forward line. So if he does come, and it's looking like that's going to happen, then I think the signing would be welcomed by almost all Manchester United fans.
So just to recap, big news in the last few moments. Manchester United have agreed a deal with RB Leipzig for the striker Benjamin Sesko. Let's pick up with Dan again on that. And we mentioned before, they've won and got Mbeumo, was very much in demand. They've won and got Cunha. They've now got Sesko. All of those players really in demand, but they wanted to go to Manchester United. Have Manchester United made a massive statement in this window after a season that really couldn't have gone much worse for them, but they are still a massive club.
Absolutely, Matt. I mean, when you look at how quickly also Manchester United have got these deals done in terms of over a week, well before the season begins, it is pretty impressive work. And when you consider, as you mentioned, they finished 15th last season, there's no European football next season as well. The signings are a statement of intent. And also, I think there is some excitement, for these players coming to Old Trafford to be part of the team, to be part of the story that tries to get Manchester United back to the peak of English football. And when you look at Bryan Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha, and now it seems Benjamin Sesko, they've all attracted, interest from other teams. We know with Sesko very publicly that Newcastle United did all of their efforts to go for the Slovenian striker. Old Trafford has been their desire and their want to be Manchester United players, and he feels that connection that they have to the club and want to be at the club. And that, I think, will go very far with the fans. I think that is the music any fan of any club wants to hear for any incomings. And now this attack between Matheus Cunha, Bryan Mbeumo, and now it seems the incoming Benjamin Sesko, all of a sudden there's this new look attack for Manchester United that Ruben Amorim can now get his hands on. And all of a sudden it's a very exciting, potent attack.
Yeah, I mean, we're watching all these brilliant goals that Sesko has scored last year in the Bundesliga. He is clearly coming in to be the number one. He's not coming in to sit on the bench. So how about outgoings now for Manchester United, given that they spent so much money as well? And the main one I'm thinking about here is, what about the future of Erasmus Højlund?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're right in terms of Benjamin Sesko will back himself to be their number 9, essentially, their starting striker. But also remember, Sesko is also a signing who hasn't reached his potential, just 22 years old, only had a few seasons in terms of top elite European football. So still a bit of growth there to go. But you're right, Matt, in terms of what does this mean for the Manchester United squad in terms of outgoings. In terms of Rasmus Højlund, he's also just 22 years old. And we know that Manchester United may consider offers for the striker, that they seem deemable, that they're happy to accept, but also on the players' behalf as well. But Rasmus Højlund has come out in pre-season, been very adamant that he doesn't want to go anywhere. He wants to fight for his place at Old Trafford. And he also had some reflections as well, that when he first signed for the club at 20 years old 2 years ago for £72 million from Atalanta, that he didn't have much support at that time. It would have been nice to share the load. Well, with Sesko coming in, Manchester United now have 2 young 22-year-old forwards who may find it a bit easier to share the load a little bit. Yes, there's no European football, but they may just drive each other to perform even better. So we'll have to find out in that sense. But we also know in terms of outgoings, Manchester United need to also raise some sales in terms of players who aren't part of the first team picture going forward as we speak. And those are Jadon Sancho, Alejandro Garnacho, who we know is a subject of interest from Chelsea. You also have Anthony, who spent on loan half a season at Real Betis last season, was very impressive, but still no deal done for him. And also Tyrell Malacia. Those are the players Manchester United will be hoping to raise sales from. That may come later in the window. But then also now you look in those front positions, there is now a lot more depth in those 10 and 9 positions. You think someone like Joshua Zirkzee, they signed from Bologna last summer, where does he now fit in Ruben Amorim's system? didn't necessarily make a huge impression last year in the 10 position or as a number 9. One thing is for sure though, Matt, I'll tell you, I don't think Manchester United fans will have any issues now going forward with their number 9. We saw all sorts of alternatives last season. Even Kobbie Mainoo played as a false 9 as some parts of last season. I think now with Benjamin Sesko and Rasmus Højlund, as well as the likes of Brian Mbeumo and Cunha who can play in that position, all of a sudden for United fans, it is very, very exciting going into that first game of the season at Old Trafford against Arsenal on that opening Sunday.
Right, and that leads me nicely into my next question, actually. So what are the next steps here? Because you told us that Sesko was stood by, ready to fly to England for a medical. How quickly could that happen? And could potentially he be available for that huge opening game against Arsenal?
Look, Matt, I think the trajectory this move is going at the moment, you would say that that is very likely that Sesko will hopefully be done so he can be involved in that match against Arsenal on that opening weekend of the season. And we've been telling you all day, once a deal was going to be agreed with Leipzig, Sesko has been waiting to fly to the UK to then proceed with the rest of the move. And that will involve a medical and all those finer details to sign his contract to be a Manchester United player. And that is what we've always understood he has wanted to be, even despite Newcastle's interest. And I just wonder, in the back of my mind, Matt, Manchester United have one more game at Old Trafford before that game against Arsenal, and that is against Fiorentina on Saturday. A reunion with David De Gea, the former Manchester United keeper, of course, who spent so many years at Old Trafford. We've seen in past years the likes of Rafa Varane and a few other players have been presented to the Old Trafford faithful. I just wonder if now Manchester United are trying to get that deal done to potentially announce Benjamin Sesko to what will be a pretty much sold out Old Trafford for that final pre-season game against Fiorentina. I'm sure that will be a target. Whether they can get everything done for that game on Saturday, let's find out. But it looks like this deal is now edging ever closer. Now a deal has been agreed in principle.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks very much, Dan, for putting a lot of meat on the bone for us there.